This is day 804 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Today's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is sponsored by Daniel Kislin for Refuah Shlema for his father, Avram Zechariah ben Miriam. They have Refuah Shlema B'Karov. If you'd like to sponsor or share more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please kindly directly. We very greatly appreciate it. Today we are doing Siman Tav Kuf Lamed Hey Aleph, the Tav Kuf Lamed Zayin base. Tav Kuf Lamed Hey Shalom Fanos B'Chotzer L'Chotzer Moed, not to move things from yard to yard during Chol HaMoed. Aleph Tanan B'Moed Katan. We learn Ein Fani B'Bais L'Chotzer. You can't, you're not supposed to move stuff from house to house, from one house to another house in another courtyard. But if you're in the same, if you remain in the same courtyard, you can move things from house to house. What does it mean that you can't move things? It means the to remove one's abode from one place to another place. It's a lot of work. It's not going to be calm. You can't go even from a pleasant to a pleasant dira, or from an unpleasant, literally ugly dira to an ugly dira. They're both belong to him. Both don't belong to him. But to move from a house which is not yours, to a house which is yours, even moving from one which is luxurious to one which is disgusting, mutter, it's permitted. On the contrary, a person feels more satisfaction in life if they are in a place of their own, and he's more equanimity gets benefited. According to this gear, so it seems that all those also are lateral moves, but going from an ugly place to a pleasant place, it's mutter even they both belong to him. Don't both belong to him. Gosmamoni writes that. Mishnah Berurah says that named Prima Gadim. Let's say you were living by a friend in one room, and then you rented a house, which is more expansive. Even though you feel more comfortable in a second house, you're not allowed to move. But that's only if you have your own house, own room in the house. But if you're together with your friend in the same room, then you can go to any place where you'll be by yourself. And he says it's not clear about that, but there is such a svara. Base Avaram Perches Tinta Zayin Kosav Ein Fani Mechatzer L'Chatzer B'Moed V'Lo Mikura L'Noah V'Lo Minah L'Chura. He says you can't go from yard to yard and not from a ugly one to a nice one, or vice versa. Yerushalmi, it seems that this is the case. I feel Mikura L'Noah also, that even not even go from an ugly one to a pleasant one. Avasov Yerushalmi the L'Toch Shelo Mutter. Shmita Rambam learned that time, but the end of the Yerushalmi, where the Rambam it says you can move from somewhere else to your own property, Rambam leaves out, and we don't know why. In the brackets, the Arukh HaShulchan says, "The imkain lama lo tirei tzashas sham kiporich v'marta reish chulei the kavana l'toch shlo." I guess the Gemara could have. That was true. The Gemara could have answered one of the questions there, that you can move into your own area. Arukh HaShulchan doesn't understand that. If that was the case, you'd say he can go to his own house. Since it doesn't say Beiso, so therefore he has to say it's from the house of Chotzer. So evidently his Gisa was different. Okay, whatever the Beis says, he thinks the Girsa should be Chotzer rather than Bais. Be that as it may. Gimel, just like you shouldn't move your dwelling on Chomoid. So too you should not move your merchandise and your objects, which are not necessarily from yard to yard. These battle b'sev simchas yontif is going to negate your simchas yontif. Because of the Indian Israel derech rishus harabim. It's only also you're going through a public domain. But if you go from yard to yard through an opening between the two of them, I feel there are you're going through several yards, it's mutter. If the houses are not open to the courtyard, over to an alley, some station you buy some can go from house to house, even though it necessitates going out to the alley. Mishnah Berurah says that the Bach says that perhaps even to the adjacent house you should not move stuff. And the Gra also seems to be machmir unless it's a mavish and a foolish, which is kind of random. Mavish and foolish, I guess, because it's more like a rishus harabim. Which is closed on all three sides. Now, if you're afraid of theft, in the yard where you live, allowed to go even for through rishus harabim too, when it can be safeguarded in the second place. Even from city to city, it's something where it's going to sustain a loss. Anything where a loss will be sustained is permitted to chol hamoed. Below have saved if there's no issue of a loss, ain't not shech moed. You should not bother on moed to take such efforts. I feel have your mamon even to transport money, which doesn't require that much tircha from city to city. Dalit. It seems to me that which is permitted from yard to yard, not through rishus harabim. That's the merchandise and objects. So it shouldn't be so public a spectacle. But to move your entire house, anytime going through from yard to yard, I feel ain't no derech rishus harabim. If it's not through rishus harabim, also it's forbidden. You won't have equanimity in the other chutzer. There's a lot of toil involved. A plate scheme doesn't sound away from the plate scheme that they make such a distinction. Says Arukh HaShulchan, let's be realistic. You need to ask a Rav, and he has to come to determination. Because sometimes you must go. And then it's mutter no matter what. Every Rav in his place, Yovina and Yon has to understand the matter, whether to permit or to forbid. Hey, if you have a refuse in the yard, also let's keep in mind, we're talking about animal dung. You should move to the side. You become so much that your yard looks like a stable, corral. Let's see what's so ash, but he can move it. The bracket says here, "I tape some of them having with Sharfraim should also not gain b'kli shir yisrael b'chol hamoed." Really, means that you're not allowed to play music for a Jew on chol hamoed. With Barney Tumim, it's astonishing to say this. And Ashari Tshuva rejects this as incorrect. A lot of Simchas Beis Shuevas wouldn't take place if we weren't allowed to use music. Any needs of the animal can be met on chol hamoed. Somebody has to ride on chol hamoed, even if it's for a pleasure trip. It's only if it's for something which is necessary for the yontif. He didn't literally means he didn't attempt to go with his legs. I assume means that he's not accustomed to going by foot. The Mishnah Berurah says if it's not for the person yontif, or that you're accustomed to going by foot, then you're only allowed to ride, but not make the following preparations for riding, which we're going to talk about in the Arukh HaShulchan. Then you can cut the nails of the horse. We're talking raga barzo and fix its legs with metal. I'm not sure if that's the horseshoe or that's some sort of other brace. I think it's a horseshoe because Mishnah Berurah says it's a place where the roads have soft dirt and there aren't so many rocks there, and they're not accustomed to make their metal. Then it's also. So it sounds like about a horseshoe. Okef, and to fix the saddle, Varesin, and the muzzle, the harness, everything which you do for riding. We don't say, well, it could have done before you on Tif. Why do you wait to chol hamoed? Shari Loya them tzarchas, they didn't know if it's going to need it or not. Was the chayin bemis yodav she starch so if he taka knew that he's going to need it. Tzarchas said be near chabon chomoid and left it deliberately to take care of chomoid also. Kasar ben Ramah the mutar likol b'moed afil me'ir le'ir allowed to ride a chomoid in from city to city afil b'chinam even for free. Chayin nagu. Not sure what for free makes a difference. I guess it means that you may not paid for it. Doesn't pay for it, so it's parnasa. Maybe it's a dabravi. If you're not paid, you're allowed to go. That's the custom. Also, talking called tzarech chiva. Now, allowed to prepare all the issues of riding. If you're not going for a purpose or for some pleasure trip. I can show them. Ain't a move on. Came with your I write you. So I understood what other categories are there. If you want to go, then it's a tiul for you. Perhaps a tiul is when it's prepared and you go at a leisurely pace. Perhaps it means that I'm going to run the tile you're going from Eretz Yisrael to Chutzlaretz, you should not be allowed to prepare for that ride. Fisa Gam ben Siyad Bagol, according to this, also traveling wagon. Gam Ken Adin King. Also, same malacha. The inyan, the Tikun Agola, in terms of fixing up the wagon, Yeda Konamoy, Usser, if you knew before you got if it's Usser, Vilam Mutter, if it's not, it's permissible. Bilacha writes, in terms of the riding in the wagon itself, you should not be Meiko when you're not being paid for it. Because of Mechamer. I don't know why being paid for it would make a difference. Nevertheless, we should not protest against those who are lenient because they have what to rely on. I don't think it's anything to do with cars. Even there's a famous story about Rabbi Heinemann that he learned to be a car mechanic to ascertain whether it's Maisa Uman, which we also call him by it, and he ascertained it wasn't. Just have to learn it. So anybody can learn it, you said. But in any event, so I don't know. Putting gasoline certainly would not fall in the category of this kind of tircha. Base mutzal sokasus, you're allowed to comb a horse kadeli aposut in order to make it handsome. Zeltanaglo, it's a pleasure for you to do that. For you, the rider. The box says even a comb which takes or removes hairs. That yontav itself would be us because of psik reisha on chol moed it's mutzal. Vafilu circle be'erev yontav, even you comb it away from erev yontav. Can require a new combing now. You don't husband, in other words, make animals impregnate, the male impregnate the female because it's not necessary for the yontif, and it's not something which suffer loss to be done a few days later. The Mishnah Berurah says if you have a donkey which is in heat, then the Eliyah Rabbah is lenient because it might get cool down again and then it'll become barren. The Berurah Yosef is machmir though. Next time you own a donkey, have it in mind. But you're allowed to let blood for an animal. You don't curtail any medical procedure for it. I feel malacha even has malacha involved. The Shabbat says even malacha d'oraisa. Zel davar avi, because something where you're going to sustain a loss. You also don't put hands on eggs to raise chicks. If you put it there before Yontif, and it ran away, you're going to put it back. If you don't put it back, you're going to have a loss with the eggs. So it is a potential loss. Has to be within 3 days of its flying the coop. Because afterwards the eggs will not hatch evermore. I was not sure if the 3 days is 24-hour days or we say Miktasiyom Kikulo on that. That'd be a big chumrah. It goes out saying this is true when the hen already sat on them for 3 days. So it's the kako basically magamri. Eggs are not edible. The embryo is too well developed. Even within once every 3 days, you can still eat them. The embryo is not that developed. Nevertheless, there's a loss involved. William writes from the Russian tour, you should not be mekel. Only because the opinion holds that Malacha Chomoid is the Rabbana. So according to what we said, that some were in Simon Tovkuf Lamed, that some were showing more than Malacha Chomoid is the Raisa, should not be makel unless there's a loss from several eggs. I guess there's several eggs involved in the issue. Because Rabbeinu Ramah, the Rama writes, also a sheep acheres, a few meses you can't put on another hand, even if the first hand died, you can't replace it. So I have to say, hold shaloi that it's not going to be effective. These sounds like the wheel. If it's going to, it would be effective. Why would they cause in this case where you're going to suffer a loss? Mishnah writes that could be because extreme effort is not permitted by Davar Aved, but does something with extreme effort. He says, have same ruba, you can be lenient. So if you're going to suffer have same ruba by a loss of these eggs, so then you would be able to put on another hand. Tafkuf Lamed Zayin, Din Dover the Dover Aved, Mutar B'chol Moed. Okay? Which this, perhaps we've already spoken about several times already, but here it is. Kvanis Bar already explained Dover Aved, Mutar B'chol Moed. Someone's going to be lost is permitted to be engaged in it feels suffix Davar Aved. You're unsure if you're going to suffer a loss. Shabura writes that the Magen Avraham holds that if that suspicion is prevalent, then even a suffix you can do the Davar Aved. But you should do it in private, and if not possible, then only then can you do it in public. And Pri Megadim says you can be make on a suffix tzorech amoed. You can be make on a suffix on a chol moed. But if it should be something which is karov, it's likely that it would lead to some sort of loss. Back to the Arukh HaShulchan. But few malachos, gemoros, kvedos, even full-fledged malachos, which are heavy malachos. Rov hachova mutal alav lakel b'tircha. Nevertheless, it is incumbent upon the person engaging in this davar aved to lighten the effort b'chomai devsha as much as he can. But I feel there are two types. One is called Beis HaShalchin. It doesn't suffice with the rain that it receives. So you have to definitely irrigate it. The other one is a Beis Habal, so you don't have to irrigate it. And the rain is enough for it. If you give it water, it's only to icing on the cake. To make it more significant. Pshita, such a field, obviously you can't give it irrigated on chol moed. The base shalchin, but the field which is a base shalchin, then you give it water before the chol moed. So even though it needs the water, you should not commence giving water on chol moed. Just wait till after yontif. I mean, you start before yontif. And if you don't give it now water, it's kalkel, the grain or the vegetables will get ruined. You can then water it on chol moed. Even though the Davar Aved has allowed work and efforts, they limited, they curtailed the amount of effort you can put in. The ramification of that is that you're allowed to water the Beis HaShalchin from a spring, regardless whether it's old or new spring. Even though it's possible by a new spring that the dirt around the spring will fall, will collapse. You have tremendous tircha to fix it. This is all when you bring water down from the spring and they go on their own to a field or to a vegetable garden. They didn't let you raise up water with buckets. Bear from a well, or from a pool, or from a collection of rainwater. Because there's a lot of effort involved. Did not allow this. I feel that even if I was going to suffer a loss. Also, I feel that goes. You can't use rain, then direct it to your field, even if you just use your foot to make furrows. The body lo yoil. because you won't be able to get enough. The sofa loves believe, so eventually you're going to start using a bucket. I feel Arukh achas, even if you have one patch, chetzi gavah, chetzi namuch, part of it's high, part of it's low. Yesh mind is water. Also, loves misham gavah, can't draw water from the low place to the high place. The gvul gavul, they made a boundary. The show b'dli, the soim mitzvah, also b'chol. In any event, you're now allowed to draw water in a bucket for seeds or for a grain. Because a lot of efforts are required. By dealing with vegetables, you want to eat cholamoid, there you can use even a bucket. Anything which for the purpose of cholamoid, it's permitted even if it requires a lot of effort. If by watering, you ruin the to be suitable for the cholamoid. And if they won't be suitable for Chol Moed, doesn't want to eat them on Chol Moed, also Gamre, it's forbidden altogether. If it's not something where it's going to cause a loss, and even there, without a great effort, but whatever is for Chol Moed, I feel even if there's no loss, but I feel Tircha Meruba, and even there's a lot of Tircha about Mutter. Mr. Buddha defines Roy from Moed that they'll be able to be eaten on Chol Moed, and also I get even if they're going to be sold on Chol Moed. It's the same thing. Mr. Burr also said in the name of Him that's only by the bucket you can only use for Ochel Nefesh or not for Machshiri Ochel Nefesh. I'm not sure what the case is. But the Ramban says even Machshiri Ochel Nefesh you can use the bucket if it's for the purpose of the Moed.